We are going to call this meeting to order. Para traducción en español, por favor, escanea el código localizado en la última página de la agenda. Vice Mayor.
Please stand for the flag salute and invocation.
Thank you for Mayor Hernandez. Lord, I thank you for this council, the city staff, Lord, and their yes to the assignment, Lord, that they've been chosen for, God, that they're working and helping us, Lord, make the city the best city that it can be. Father, I thank you for all the residents. Lord, I thank you that when we come together to solve problems, Lord, and when we face trials, God, and we are able to display and just share our concerns, Lord, in this place and this platform. But Lord, at the end of the day, we understand that all of us working together is what makes it work. So I just pray that during this season of thankfulness, Lord, that we would just be grateful, thankful, and also just invested in what the city can become and our part and what that looks like. And we ask this in your name, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Here.
Councilmember Pimentel,
Here.
Councilmember Call,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fossey,
Here.
Mayor Hernandez.
Here. There are no agenda changes at this time. Any council authority member staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Seeing none, we have a proclamation today. If I can have the representatives for American Veterans First come up. It has been an exciting month celebrating Veterans Day and Veterans Month with you. And we wanted to end the month by giving you a proclamation on behalf of the city. Whereas November was first declared as Military Family Month in 1996, since then, November has been a time to acknowledge the tremendous sacrifices our military families make. They contend with separation from their families and make adjustments to living in new situations and communities. Military families embody strength, resilience, and courage. And whereas we unite with the community to honor the extraordinary men and women whose selfless service has safeguarded our nation's most cherished freedoms, their sacrifices are woven into the fabric of our community, reminding us daily of the courage it takes to preserve liberty. And whereas too many veterans carry painful memories and bear physical, emotional scars from their service, we will never forget our veterans who are suffering from mental health issues or military families that are left behind. Whereas families provide our service members with invaluable encouragement and love and manage the home front while their loved ones are deployed. As we approach the winter holiday season, when families across the world come together, we pay special tribute to our deployed forces and their families. Now, therefore, the City Council and the City of Riverbank hereby proclaim November 2025 as Veterans and Military Families Month and urge the Riverbank community to celebrate the indomitable spirit of our heroes and reaffirm our commitment to them, ensuring that their service is never forgotten and their contributions are always cherished. Signed today and for you all. Thank you so much. Would you like to? Got some shy.
Beautiful.
I know. It's my spelling bee abominable. All right. 7.2, the presentation from our traffic committee.
Mayor and Council, our Director of Public Works, Cody Bridgewater, will provide this report.
Mayor, members of council, a few weeks, actually probably last month, you guys asked me to bring forward a presentation regarding our traffic committee that we held on the first Tuesday of each month. So tonight I will be presenting this information. This is not. Thank you. So the traffic committee members are made up of the city manager, assistant city manager, chief of Riverbank Police Services, our contract city engineer, the director of public works, director of community development, our capital projects and regulatory compliance manager, our public works superintendent, our street supervisor, and other miscellaneous development services and police services staff members as they're able to attend. Quite often, chief sends his traffic officers in to provide input for those meetings. So how it works is Public Works as well as additional departments receive complaints from the public as well as requests from other city staff. And these complaints are placed on the agenda for the upcoming meeting, which occurs on the first Tuesday of each month. For example, we recently had a resident complaining about speeding along Terminal Avenue near the intersection of Tennessee Avenue and requested that the city install a speed bump. Staff presented the item to the traffic committee and a decision was rendered utilizing existing speed data, accident data, and additional information from the area such as signage and striping. So the initial data that was reviewed by staff was from August 8th of 2022 through August 15th of 2022. What the police services had done is they placed the radar trailer out there to collect speed data and traffic data in the area. So the northbound traffic was 52% of the vehicles traveled above the speed limit of 30 miles an hour. And southbound traffic, which is going out of town, 67.5% of the vehicles traveled above the speed limit. And that threshold was set at the actual speed limit of 30 miles an hour. So based on the traffic data, the traffic committee ultimately decided to install stop signs at the intersection of Townsend Avenue and Terminal Avenue, as it had currently only had a stop sign at Townsend. By installing stop signs on the northbound and southbound lanes of Terminal, we figured we could slow traffic significantly, being that there was not a stop sign in the 1 mile stretch from the intersection of Clarabelle Road and Terminal Avenue to Kentucky Avenue and Terminal Avenue. So the data that was gathered most recently, which was from 11/4 of 25 to 11/17 of 25, we now have a northbound speeding of approximately 10% of the vehicles that were traveling in there, and south was 26%. So if you have a side-by-side comparison, you can see the green there is the vehicles that are in compliance. So in 2022, you have the left side there. Now in 2025, after the installation of the stop signs and not choosing to install a speed bump, this is the data that we're receiving now. So just some other possible topics that we receive on a regular basis. Speeding is a big one. Signage such as no parking, stop signs, U-turns. One example I can share is Oakdale Road and Westgate. If you're heading northbound, it used to be both southbound and northbound at that intersection was a no U-turn. Well, we got a complaint from a resident, and so we looked at Westgate to see if there was enough room to be able to perform a U-turn safely in that intersection. And from going northbound, coming back around to go towards Costco, it was safe to do so. So we actually changed those signs out, and just in that one direction, a U-turn is allowed now. Now, when Oakdale Road is widened on the north side, there at Crossroads West, we'll be able to fit a U-turn in there as well. Right now, we can't do it just because of the spacing, but those are some of the things that we're presented with, and we determine a next feasible step. Other things would be striping, such as curb paint or street striping. Crosswalks, we get a lot of requests for additional crosswalks, and we do our best to accommodate those as well. That's my short presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions and you guys may have.
Questions, comments from council?
The only comment I have is the one I always have. So when you're traveling from Oakdale to Roselle and you are going past the shopping center, people like to turn left at the drinking store. I forget what the name of the store is. Beverages and More. Well,
Okay.
you can't turn left. Now, when I was on council before, I asked them to restripe that, and they did. I still see people turning left. I've been in the lane turning out and had people pull in front of me turning left. I would like to see the posts, the plastic ones there, so people don't turn left, because especially now it's becoming a hazard. Maybe it doesn't happen as often because of 2 turn lanes, but that's been a problem for several years that I've seen. Just a suggestion.
Put it on the agenda.
So what's the best way to send a concern or?
Either through email, or you can call Public Works and the girls will take down the information and hand it over to me and we can put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Item 7.3, presentation, Opportunity Stanislaus Memorandum of Understanding.
So Mayor and Council, this item is a follow-up to a previous discussion that we had had with regards to the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with Opportunity Stanislaus. So just a little bit of background. December 14th of 21, Council approved a 5-year agreement for what they say is economic development and workforce strategies. That annual investment for each of those 5 years is $25,000 to Opportunity Stanislaus. During the budget presentation for this current fiscal year, a majority of council requested a review of the MOU. So on September 9th, we did receive direction to evaluate some potential amendments. Subsequently, Councilmember Call and myself met with Dave White, who's the CEO of Opportunity Stanislaus, to discuss their current programs and opportunities that we might be able to take advantage of. I will say that MOUs like this require both parties to put some effort and some work into it. So some of the programs will require some initiative on behalf of staff. Other programs will require an initiative on behalf of Opportunity Stanislaus. So I think it's going to be important moving forward that we make sure that we hold each other accountable. And so us as council, myself as staff, making sure that the programs that staff can take advantage of are being done so in a routine basis. And same that we are holding Opportunity Stanislaus accountable, whether it be through the quarterly reports and calling things out that we are not seeing happen, to make sure that we're doing that and we can have these conversations sooner in the MOU, rather than waiting for things to kind of build up and then we end up with conversations like these. So a couple of programs and opportunities. So one of the initial discussions that Councilmember Call had with the Opportunity Stanislaus staff is they reviewed our strategic plan and looked at how some of these programs can fall within the parameters of meeting those objectives and goals that were set forth in the May strategic plan. So the big kind of topics are categorized with an intent that these programs will help us achieve those goals. So in terms of downtown revitalization and small business growth, it's always been important for the city to be able to help our downtown businesses and our small businesses in general. I'm going to say a lot of the programs are geared towards small businesses because we know that some of the larger corporate businesses and franchises, they can take care of themselves. So when I talk about some of these programs, I don't have Crossroads West in mind because they can take care of themselves. It's looking at our smaller areas, our downtown, our 108 corridor, Patterson Road, and some of the vacant buildings that we have within those smaller commercial centers that we could possibly help to fill.
So this wouldn't exclude some of the smaller businesses in those
will-
areas? as
It
well?
will not
Okay.
exclude that, but in terms of looking to fill vacancies, Broman Development handles that on their own, maybe not necessarily needing any assistance from the city. Whereas some of the others may not have access to some of this specific market information or be able to perform their own market analysis to know what might be a good fit for their area.
So like retention, they're good, right? And they can
Yes.
handle that, but as
Mhm.
far as like, maybe like the grants and stuff like that, they can
Correct.
still
Yes,
access that.
that they will still be able to access. So retail leakage analysis, so they have, Opportunity Stanislaus has a program called Buxton On Demand, which provides information on where our residents are leaving Riverbank to purchase things in other cities because we simply don't have them here in our city or not enough of them to be able to handle all of the residents that we have. So for us, it's being able to request that information on demand anytime that we want to assist in filling vacancies here in our downtown. And as I mentioned, along that Highway 108 corridor. SBDC has been a wonderful partner to the city. So one of the things that we talked about is identifying businesses that are not currently SBDC clients. So we would send to them basically a business license report of our smaller commercial businesses and our home occupations so that they can do some outreach in order to be able to let them know what services and programs they can offer to them. So Opportunity Stanislaus is looking to hire a communications director. And so they were in the process of recruitment when we last had this conversation with them. So the goal is to be able to help the investors with some social media communications and being able to sort of highlight the different investors that all help to support Opportunity Stanislaus. And then in terms of us being proactive with our businesses that are struggling is doing some early warning detection. So as part of the quarterly reports that we receive from our sales tax consultants, we're able to see those businesses that might be struggling, that might have had a significant drop or loss of revenue quarter after quarter or year after year, where we might be able to reach out to Opportunity Stanislaus and SBDC and be able to ask them to reach out to these businesses and offer them resources whenever they may need them to kind of help them through whatever struggle they're currently facing.
So when we're talking about early warning detection, can we kind of set a standard? So like, I want to see more of like metrics in kind of this stuff, right? So can we say, hey, can you reach out to the three, struggling businesses in town and then set that every month so that they can kind of reach out every month? And then they're not kind of oversaturating the town as well. That's something that we can kind of build into it or no?
Yeah, we certainly can make sure that we include some kind of way to be able to measure how successful this partnership is going to be. Because I do want to make clear, as I mentioned earlier, it does need to be a partnership. It does need to have both parties involved to make sure that this continues to work.
And then just for clarification, for the SBDC support, how many are we currently sending to SBDC now? as far as clients?
So the city itself is not sending any clients.
Okay.
Typically what we've done is through some of the workshops that they do, we'll send information out that way. The last workshop that we held last week, we did like a mass email blast to all of our businesses. I think that proved to be successful because we had 19 individuals that attended that course, and we had very good reviews come from that. So I think continuing that practice would be extremely helpful whenever we do see information coming through that will benefit them. In terms of industrial and commercial development, so Opportunity Stanislaus does hold opportunity development tours for interested developers. This does tend to focus more on developers that are looking for large vacant lots to do warehousing or some kind of manufacturing company. We don't necessarily have those huge vacant commercial or industrial lots. And not something that we would probably take advantage right away, but if there were opportunities to annex any properties into the city that would fit those parameters, and certainly we would want to make sure that we take advantage of that service. And basically they bus individuals out to be able to look at the properties themselves, evaluate what services are already nearby, what infrastructure needs are necessary, and be able to kind of gauge their interest from there. A second one is to do a brew and build, which is basically like let's meet for coffee with our local businesses, bring them in. It would include city officials, whether it's a council member or city staff, and just have a discussion to allow businesses to share challenges, opportunities, and ways to support economic growth. I will say that some of these have been very successful in other cities. Houston just recently had one that was very well attended. The goal is to be able to get feedback on ways that we can streamline processes, be able to facilitate businesses to come in, and not have so much red tape as we tend to sometimes have as governmental agencies.
So I know, and I believe the city of Oakdale also does this as well. And so I think their goal is like 3 per year. So can we put in this, a goal of like 2 a year, so that way we have those, again, metrics?
Yeah, maybe a minimum of one, but at least,
Yeah, goal for 2, minimum of 1
Mhm.
per year. Yeah.
Now, in terms of workforce and education, as we know, they do offer some workforce development training, particularly when it comes to their VOLT program. So they do have a talent development program where they offer leadership courses for employees. They also assist with recruitments and trainings. So not only can this be offered to our local businesses for them to take advantage and be able to send their managers for training, et cetera. That also goes for city staff and city officials. So if we ever had a need to send a new manager or supervisor to some leadership training, we would be able to send them. And also any recruitments that we have, they offer us the opportunity to send them the information, and they will post via their social media medians as well. Volt on the go. So that would be them bringing Volt to us. Of course, that does require a location to be able to do that. Since it does take a couple of weeks for folks to go through the courses, we would want a consistent location to host those, depending on the size of the class. We've had some success using the Riverbank Industrial Complex and the Building 18 that they have there. So that certainly can be something that we can offer to them. And they can also offer the course in English and in Spanish. So that way multiple individuals can attend, and they can also do a course just in one language or just in another, just depending on.
We could use the Scott McRitchie building also, right?
Yes, we could also
That'd
use
be a
that
nice
as well.
place.
Volt grant. So this is something that came out of the last discussion that we had here at council, and was something that was offered by the CEO, is to be able to take half of our investment. So as a reminder, our investment is $25,000 a year, be able to take half of that and provide a grant for a resident to attend a Volt program. So they do advanced maintenance mechanic, they do electrician courses. There's a variety of courses that they offer. So currently, the city of Oakdale and the city of Houston have a grant program with certain parameters that residents would have to meet in order to be able to apply. The 12,500 would basically be enough to cover one of the larger courses, like the advanced maintenance mechanic, along with one of the smaller courses, kind of like the electrician. So we could potentially fund up to 2 grants for our residents. So this is certainly something I think we would want to take advantage of. As a reminder for those that were on council prior to last November, we wanted to do this with some of our ARPA funding. Unfortunately, some of the programs came in over budget, and so we had to reallocate funds. But this would be a great way to be able to kind of reinitiate that desire that council had to assist our residents who sometimes may need an opportunity to enhance their skills and be able to go for a higher paying job.
This would probably be good for our Sierra house
Yes,
Um,
and
people.
yes,
that
and
would be great.
actually, yeah, Volt on the Go has actually been at Sierra House as well. So they are getting sort of those free resources too. Last one is develop some employee surveys or perform a skill gap analysis for any of our businesses here in Riverbank, and including city staff. Under housing and development support, they actually have a company that builds modulars that if we were looking to build a tiny home village or micro home village, they're being called now, that S2A modular is kind of been vetted by them. So this is something that developers would have an opportunity to reach out to them, probably get some good pricing to be able to build some modular affordable housing. In terms of infrastructure and innovation support, is they would prepare economic impact analysis on new industries. So for example, when 3R is up and running, they'll be able to evaluate the impact that they're going to have on the city, not just in terms of the revenues that they're going to generate for us or the sales tax they'll generate for us, but also sort of those incidentals, how many Riverbank residents are benefiting from having a job at that location, which then in turn means that they're spending their dollars locally. And so that continues to stay in Riverbank and continues to invigorate our economy here. So they'll be able to evaluate that. So we do it for our larger industries. The last one that we did was for Circulus. Unfortunately, they're no longer here, but they do provide that type of service. In terms of communications and reporting, of course, they'll continue to develop a quarterly report. Something that they mentioned is that the city of Modesto has tailored their report to make sure it includes all of the data that they're seeking. So we will look to be able to do something similar. Currently, they just use their standard template to be able to share the information. A lot of times that may include information that's not specific to Riverbank. So I think being able to make sure that it includes Riverbank only information will help not only to be able to share that information with council, but also with members of the public. And then hold an economic development 101 workshop with the city council. That's something they offered previously. It would require a commitment of time from council, at least 2 to 3 hours. We would meet, whether it's here at the council chambers or another offsite location, to be able to host that. But they are still looking to be able to offer that. And then in terms of fiscal sustainability and accountability, share best practices from other jurisdictions, and then be able to provide letters of support for grant applications, particularly those that might focus on infrastructure needs of our industrial businesses or our small businesses. So sort of what are our next steps from here? City staff will continue to work with Opportunity Stanislaus on prioritized projects or programs, such as the Volt grants to residents, being able to establish the parameters to apply, and being able to get that rolled out. Requesting data such as the Buxton reports from them so that we can share that with the different commercial centers that might need or have vacant spots. And then scheduling of workshops and events for 2026 with Valley Sierra SBDC. And then, of course, council and city staff will hold ongoing conversations to ensure that each party is communicating their needs. And then a review of the proposed 5-year agreement. So coincidentally, Dave did reach out to me and said he's ready to share a draft of that agreement. If council is interested in sitting down with me when I meet with him, please reach out to me so that we can coordinate a time to do so. That way we can be able to communicate the needs that council has expressed tonight to them. And then we would bring a draft back for review by the city council. And with that, if there's any questions, I think it was a very good conversation that Councilmember Call and I had with Dave White. They certainly realize that there are sometimes, because of some staffing issues that they've had themselves, that they're not as proactive as they should be. And so same with us, that as we've had some staff turnover, that we haven't been as proactive as we've needed to be to make sure that we're taking advantage of these programs that they have, and certainly continuing to collaborate with SBDC. This is a photo from that last workshop that we had just a week ago. Like I said, it was really great turnout. They had 37 signups and 19 folks show up, which for them was a huge win. They loved the space, so I think we're going to be able to continue to collaborate with Ametis on the use of the space there, and continue to bring our Riverbank Industrial Complex to light.
Thank you. Real quick, before we start brainstorming some things, does this impact the length of the term of this final?
So any of these changes that we make, it's really already included in the initial agreement that we have with them. So it's just a matter of us being proactive and taking advantage of that. So there's not going to be any change now. I think the only major change is going to be to the Volt grant program. That's the one thing that's not necessarily detailed. So we might need an amendment, but the new agreement is coming up here very quickly. So we may just end up doing like a side letter to be able to initiate that work and then make sure that we incorporate specific language in the new 5-year agreement that they're proposing.
So when does this final year end?
So this final year ends June 30th of next year. So the goal in being able to review the draft now is that by March, April, we would have a final version. They try to use a standardized agreement with all of their investors, i.e. all of their cities, because there are quite a few that are investors. But with us, we did say, there are some very specific items that we want to make sure we call out. So it might need to be tailored this year, which is why he wants to start those conversations earlier rather than later.
Thank you for attending those meetings. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for including me in those meetings. They were really productive. We got to hear a lot more. Out of curiosity, how much has Dave reached out since we started meeting with him and we agreed to continue with the MOU?
So I haven't had any communication with him since that meeting, other than to try to set up a meeting to review the draft.
And then I just wanted to reinforce what you had said about the accountability piece, because this really is going to take a high level of accountability from staff and from Opportunity Stanislaus. And even us, we vote up here to spend the community's money on these resources. So even if it's just reaching out to Valley Sierra or Opportunity Stanislaus, I encourage all of you to reach out to them just to kind of get a feel for what's going on or how we can support them. I walked with Valley Sierra SBDC. I think it would be great to see everyone on council walk with them. But it's almost like we're going to have to hold some hands a little bit through this process to make sure that we're getting the things that we're asking for and that we're needing. And then to Councilmember Uribe's point, I do think it's a great idea in the MOU adjustments to include measurable results. So at least one brew-in build on the calendar through the end of the term of this agreement. And then we can include these measurable results that we're talking about in that reporting tool that he's giving us access to.
Comments or questions? And I want to commit, if I could volunteer you as well, at least both of us to communicate to the rest of council in the conversations we have, because I mentioned before I sit on their board and the meetings don't happen as often as I would like, but I want to commit to communicating to you all as this progresses. I would love to sit in on that meeting, Marisol, as you have it.
I'll send an email out to you both.
Do you need anything else from us? Okay. All right, public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during public comment cannot be discussed or acted upon.
Ms. Barbara Martinez?
Hello, everyone. Hope I can get through this without coughing. Bronchitis and this evening weather is getting to me. So I'm here as a resident of Riverbank and also a director on the Riverbank Chamber of Commerce. December 9th is our last chamber meeting for the year. The meetings are at the Riverbank Industrial Complex at 5300 Claus Road in the conference room from 12 to 1 p.m. December 10th is the Chamber's holiday party from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Building 18 at the Riverbank Industrial Complex. And we will be doing a white elephant gift exchange, and the limit is $20, and all are welcome. December 11th is the ribbon cutting anniversary for Security Public Storage, and they are celebrating 25 years of being in business. The time of the celebration and ribbon cutting is 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. December 18th is a multi-mixer of the local chambers of commerce at the DoubleTree from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The chamber is excited to present an event that will recognize the members of the community who are nominated for their outstanding contributions to our community in so many different ways. Nomination forms are available for Business of the Year, Citizen of the Year, and the Youth of the Year. The applications are available online on the chamber's website, through the link on the Chamber's social media page, or you can pick up one at City Hall North. Applications are in English and Spanish, and the applications are due December 15th at 11:59 p.m. The awards event is scheduled for January 16th at the Antigua Event Center. Tickets are $45 per person, or you can get a VIP table for $350. In addition, we will be having our installation of directors and board members. And then the next chamber meeting in the new year will be January 13th from 12 to 1. And again, it's at the Riverbank Industrial Complex. And we're also looking for new board members and ambassadors. And you can find more information on the chamber website. And then also let you know that Central Valley Community Resources has community partners, for instance, Toys for Tots with the Marines and Riverbank Unified School District. We'll be hosting a toy drive and a car show on Sunday, December 7th from 9 to 2 at the Save Mart Riverbank and Crossroads Shopping Center. And we are inviting the public to come out and help pick their favorite car. We do have trophies for probably the first, second, and third prize. We will be filling up the big red cart with toys for the Riverbank community. So all of the toys that are collected, we have boxes throughout the city of Riverbank at different locations, businesses, and so forth. And if you ever have seen the big red cart, or it's a big old shopping cart, and if you ever seen it or felt it when they started up, it gets to you. And then I just want to talk about the Breakfast with Santa and a toy giveaway December 13th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy Richardson?
Mayor Hernandez, City Council, my name is Randy Richardson. I pastor Riverbank Assembly of God at 3126 Stanislaus Street. And I just wanted to take a moment to invite everybody. Tomorrow is our annual community dinner. The couple that is doing it is now pastoring the Spanish-speaking ministry of our church, Minor and Anna Merlo. They used to have it at the Scouts Hall, and now it's been last couple years at our facility, and we're just inviting everyone to go. There's like the last I heard, 300 people have signed up. So we'll be serving them a Thanksgiving dinner. There are individuals that needed it. We'll be getting jackets and hygiene bags, and we're just going to love on our community together. And I just wanted to make sure that all of you are invited. Tomorrow, 5:30, we'll start serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Diego?
Hi, Council. Hi, Mayor. I wanted to ask if we can get more information from Bartle Wells and Associates before we invest any more money in the wastewater treatment project. And the reason I was asking for that is Eric Helgeson gave the most recent projections for increases, and the debt service coverage wasn't listed there. On the original rate study that was done back in 2022, after all of the increases happened, there was an additional increase that was unlisted for 4%. The debt service coverage ratio was 1.36. The minimum debt service coverage ratio is about 1.25, and for a healthy enterprise fund for a city, should be about 1.8. If you look and you Google Bartle Wells and Associates, type in PDF, you'll be able to see all of the rate studies that they've done for different cities, localities, for water, sewer, et cetera. You will not find another debt service coverage ratio as low as that. You won't find it. So when I spoke to Eric Helgeson on the phone, he said, we're about 1.4. And I'm like, that's really low. Like, you guys are barely going through on the margins, and we have, it's unfunded. We don't have the funds. So to my knowledge, I try to get the draft application for WIFIA because he said they may be on there so I can review it, but the city didn't release those to me. I would like to see that information from Eric Helgeson so we can go through it. It's my understanding that the project was not viable since the beginning. I think the net revenue for funds was just over $100,000 after the first increase of 4%. Again, this is going back to 2022 with an $88 million project. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys. So I believe he said he may have offered Tammy Alcantor a pro forma document in this regard. So I would like to see that at least. I know that Gabriela offered me to go and look at the computer screen, but I'd like the document. I like the forms so we can review them. That way we don't have to wait a few months down the line, right? So we can review those in anticipation, see if it's actually healthy, and ask them to redo the study or update it and give the public the information so they can see that. 1.34%, it's actually lower than that. So 1.34% at 88 million, it's lower than that. 1.4 for the debt service coverage ratio, really low. Like I said, you won't find any other rate study that they've done for any other city that has a debt service coverage ratio as low as 1.4. You won't find it. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Christie?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you guys are doing well. I just wanted to say I'm at a great time, November 8th at the 108 Sports Lounge for Shop with the Cop fundraiser. It was a real huge success. I want to thank my dear friend, Council Member Call, for organizing it, putting all the effort in, and I'll let her speak later on the proceeds and the turnout. So exactly what we did, but it was a great night. If you missed it, you could still drop off a toy donation or a check to Riverbank Police Services during business hours. In addition to taking the kids, shopping at Kohl's, they take them out for a pizza dinner and they provide them with a new toy. So again, I just wanted to tell you it was a great time, and thanks to the entire staff at 108 for all their hard work. So yeah, I wish you guys happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Milt Treeweiler?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and community members. Milt Treeweiler. The prime farmland in the proposed Riverwalk project is a natural resource that cannot be replaced or mitigated because of its unique nature, its quality soils, its water availability, and its good climate. There's no other farmland as good as this on the earth. There is a major shortage of prime farmland and water in the world today. We now know that we will need to remove almost 1 million acres of farmland in the San Joaquin Valley, south of Stanislaus County, from production because there's not enough water to irrigate it. Mayor and council, you have to be very careful about who you listen to and what you believe. There are people here in Stanislaus County and Riverbank who are plotting to destroy the future for our children and our descendants. There would have been a ballot measure that would have stopped this project on last year's ballot if it had not been for a corrupt signature gatherer. The citizens of Riverbank would have already stopped this project for the proposed Riverwalk project. However, Mayor and Council, now you are the only body that can stop the proposed Riverwalk project. The majority of the land in the specific plan area is floodplain. The floodplain will be necessary to prevent flooding upriver in the River Cove development and downriver during an atmospheric rain event. Be strong, do the right thing, and save the Riverwalk farmland for your children and descendants. There is an abundance of poor soils and wasteland in California and our nations for the developers to build houses on, like the Altamont Pass area or the large landmass area east of Fairfield along Highway 12 all the way to Rio Vista. You can also build up and not out on your infill and blighted areas in the city with multi-story buildings. Council, do what's best and right for your children and descendants. Vote no on the proposed Riverwalk project when this comes before you. Please go out and talk to the people of your city, council and mayor, and you will find that the vast majority are opposed to this project. Riverbank community members, let your council members know what you think about this bad project. Remember, you, your children, and your descendants are the ones who will suffer. This is prime farmland that needs to be saved forever. So it's imperative that you do this and not pass this thing when it comes to you. And also, I just want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Mayor, that is all we have for public comment in the chamber, and there is no one on Zoom wishing to speak.
All right, any other public comment? We have the consent calendar, items 9.1 to 9.3. Any discussion or motion?
Mayor, we do have some comments on item 9.3.
Oh, you do, okay. So we'll pull that aside. So consent calendar 9.1 and 9.2.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9.1 and 9.2 from the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fossey?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 9.3, a resolution approving the consultant services agreement with Blackwater Consulting Engineers.
Mayor, we do have a public comment from Mr. Diego Hernandez.
Hi, good evening again. I had a question about that. So I ended up calling, I think it's the owners, the president of Blackwater, had a conversation with them about what was involved, like specifically within the feasibility study, what options they were all looking for. He didn't say that they were going to be looking for a full alternative look, as in looking at the potential ability to purchase private land and such as adding like an additional percolation basin and or two. Is that something that was, to your guys' knowledge, that's something that can be addressed toward them to look at as a completely different alternative? I did speak to them in that regard and try to see if that's something that they could take a look at, but he says that's not the direction that he believes he's receiving from council at this time. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there, go ahead.
We did receive a written public comment on 9.3. This is from Mr. Richard Holmer. Dear Council, I just had an opportunity to review tonight's City Council agenda and would like to comment on it. I am pleased to see you are awarding a feasibility study for the wastewater treatment plant. There are several recommendations that could come out of this. Of course, you could have a stage 3 plant, but the most cost effective could be a stage 2. Continue with the current plant. plus some upgrades, particularly the funding of a pipe under the river to carry waste flow, or the Modesto alternative. For Mr. Richard Homer.
Thank you. Is there any council comments or questions at this point?
Would staff like to comment on the AGO's comment? Because it was my understanding that they would be looking at new sites as well. I had mentioned that comment before we made a vote.
That's correct. The scope of services didn't limit specifically which alternatives we would be looking at. The goal is to look at expansion as a whole, not necessarily very specific projects like Modesto or moving to a tertiary plant. Even just current expansion would be evaluated as well.
And we haven't had our kickoff meeting or anything yet, so they don't have any direction.
That's correct, yes. Now that they're under contract, they would be, if it gets.
So we could take those comments back, Diego. Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 9.3.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item 11.1, a resolution approving the appointment of Alex Rodriguez as the alternate to the Planning Commission effective January 1, 2026.
This item is presented by our city clerk, Gabriela Hernandez.
Mayor, Council, tonight for your consideration, at the recommendation of Mayor Hernandez, we have Alex Rodriguez here with us in the chambers. We conducted a recruitment for an alternate planning commissioner, as our alternate position will be expiring next month which is currently held by Ben Rubin. He did not decide to do another term. So we did do a recruitment, and Alex was the application we received. Mayor Hernandez and our Director of Community Development, Josh Mann, held an interview with him. And the recommendation out of that interview was to appoint him to the position. And I'll let Mayor speak on that if she wishes.
Yeah, so I highly recommend Alex, and like was mentioned, our development director said in there. Alex comes with glowing recommendations from our staff as he participates in the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee as well. He carries this type of energy and interest and passion for the city of Riverbank that I think is needed on the Planning Commission that will really add to that committee. And we have him here tonight and would love the support and the recommendation. Was there any specific questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve the appointment of Alex Rodriguez.
Do we have any public comment? Thank you. All right,
I'll go with my motion again, please.
And I'll second it.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to appoint Alex Rodriguez as the alternate planning commissioner.
Yay. Alex, would you care to share a few words here? Yes, please, to the mic here.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Alex Rodriguez. I'm locally born and raised here, and I settled here in 2011, and I've been joining different programs here in the community. As you guys are aware, I'm Parks and Rec Committee, and also on Riverbank RYBSA Vice President. And I want to just get involved in the city because I like how it's growing, and I'd like to move forward with it. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll have an official oath later on with our city clerk. All right, item 11.2, receive direction for the city council regarding the next steps for the proposed Jacob Myers Park Trail expansion project.
Mayor and Council, your Director of Parks and Recreation, Michael Patton, will provide this report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Exciting stuff here. I'll wait for Norma to get the presentation up. So we are providing an update for the Jacob Myers Park Trail project. We'll kind of highlight for the new council members that may not be too familiar with it, kind of going over the scope of work, kind of where we're at right now, and kind of the direction we're trying to seek from you. So a summary of the project. This project has been in the works for many years. Rumor I've been told was 20+ years, but since I've been here for the last nearly 2 years, it's been something that's been on email exchanges, talking to people about. So the project, for those that are familiar with Jacob Myers Park, on the west side over by the dog park, there's a property line with the Army Corps of Engineers, and the project is to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to get a lease to create a non-motorized dirt trail of sort that will loop around and kind of expand going out west. The trail is about approximately 1.18 miles. And we kind of just go through the habitat there, be beautiful scenery, looking at the nature along the river as well. To date, the city has been working on with consultants on an environmental review on the property or on the project. That includes doing CEQA and as well as NEPA. In the environmental review process, there have been identified elderberry shrubs triggering federal requirements on the project. They are home to the elderberry beetle, which what I've been told is on the list of no-nos for the federal government. The city has been working with the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, and San Joaquin Council of Governments. Fun fact, Jacob Myers Park is in San Joaquin County, not here to Stanislaus. And on the compliance of a participation in what's called the SJCOG Habitat Plan. This is something that our consultants with JB Anderson, who's been working on the CEQA analysis, has recommended in order to work on mitigation issues to avoid some of these federal and statewide triggers with these species that are out there. There have been many site visits, surveys, agency meetings over the last 2 years and that have refined the trail alignment and to outline the next steps. And so kind of we have here's a map. Kind of where you see the 2 red lines on the right-hand side where there's 2 points. That's kind of where the dog park is. As you kind of see, it meanders through going out west. And like mentioned before, there are elderberry bushes along the way. And we have a map here where we had a biologist go out there and kind of map out elderberry bushes that would be in proximity to the trail. You can see kind of little green semicircles with the number next to it. Those are identified elderberry bushes. And so there's well over 30 of them along the trail path. So with that being said, you can't really build a trail on top of the elderberry bushes without some other mitigation measures. And so the kind you see meander through trying to avoid trying to disturb as much as least as possible. And so this was done a few years ago. As you imagine, a few years ago going to now, things have changed with the environment. Things grow, things die. So the next steps we have here, where we're at, we're looking to complete the biological assessment. We're looking to receive a topographical and aerial survey, complete the cultural study, complete initial study to mitigate. So this is all part of the CEQA analysis part of it. We have gained direction from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services to kind of move forward with this project on how we're going to go about it and how we can mitigate a lot of these issues that are outlined here. So once we do the cultural survey, the biological assessment is complete. JB Anderson would then complete the CEQA portion of it. That'll complete the initial study and mitigate negative declaration. We'll complete the mitigation monitoring reporting program. City Council would approve the initial study and mitigated negative declaration, and we'll look for permitting with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and then can prepare construction document drawings. So there's a lot of this is a CEQA process where we have to submit it to the county and kind of get their vote of approval there. So the issue that we're at here, or we're looking at, so a few years back, the city had ARPA funds to kind of start this project out with getting the CEQA and getting this all taken care of. The city committed about $101,500 of the ARPA funds to go towards this project, with the idea of it taking care of the environmental process, the permitting, design, and construction. The city entered a contract with JB Anderson for $39,894 to do the environmental process. In that time, we have had a change order with the biologist of $3,500 to help with the CEQA work that needs to be done. That leaves a remaining, one sec here, I apologize. We'll kind of come back to that 58,106 here in 1 second. The proposed expenditures. So with this, with now kind of getting direction from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and on Army Corps of Engineers on what they want to see done out there in order to approve this project. Taking back to the biologist to go back out there to kind of recheck out, make sure that see what where the elderberry bushes are currently today. We got a change order of $19,200. When talking with JB Anderson, they also suggested working with MCR Engineering, who's the current engineering firm with the city, to help getting some additional work or additional assistance with the biology part of it, with the biologist, as well as performing a cross section to kind of get an idea of what the trail would look like. That additional cost proposal is $23,000. And so add up the two proposals there, we're looking at $42,200. With that, you look at your uncommitted funds of, 1 sec here, Council, I apologize here. Yeah, so you look at your $39,894 plus $3,500 with the $42,200 there. That'll leave you with the total remaining funds of $15,906 of that original $101,500. So with the idea of using this $101,000 that we had for environmental work, permitting, design, construction, now kind of takes us back here to where we would barely have enough to scrape past the environmental portion of it. And so what we're looking from the council is direction. With the original idea when we started this whole thing was to get this whole project done with $101,500. It's not looking to go in that direction. And so we have a few options with council, and we're trying to get your feedback on. Option one is to direct staff to not move forward with the Jacob Myers Park Trail expansion project at this time due to us not having sufficient funding to get past the environmental portion of it. Option two is to direct staff to move forward with the contract amendments and proposals submitted by more biological consultants, which is that $19,200. And approve the proposal from MCR Engineering and direct staff to complete the steps described previously, which again, this would hopefully get us through all the environmental portion of it. The remaining funds would again go looking forward towards the permitting part of it, as well as design, construction documents, which would not be sufficient. And so the idea would be if we decide to move forward, City Council would hopefully feel comfortable with helping chip in some funding in the future to help complete the rest of the project. And option three, provide additional direction to staff that may not be outlined already. In talking with David and MCR, we kind of got a very, very, very rough cost estimate on what the construction documents would look like. That's about $50,000 on top of that. There's additional surveying that they can do for additional $10,000. So you're looking at roughly $60,000 to kind of get us through that design portion. Again, that does not include the permitting and the actually labor to get the project done. And so I anticipate this project being a 6-figure project at the end of it, or additional 6 figures that we'll need to get this project finished out. One thing I do want to point out though, there are some funding and grants available out there to help offset some of these costs or help subsidize it so that the city's not on the hook for it. However, a lot of these grants do require kind of 50% match. And so not saying the city has to be prepared to throw out a whole lot of money on this, but there may be in the future of, hey, we may need some funding in the future to get this project done. I'll be able to answer any questions that council may have. And
Could you go back to the, yes, the 39 and then the 35, we're at 43,394 for the remaining, or no?
Yeah, so give me
For
1 sec
the-
here.
101.
So the remaining is the 39, after the 39,894 and the 3,500 has
Yep.
been spent from the
Oh, I see.
101,500.
Correct.
So
Yes.
58,106. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so the 58,106 is what's left, which we would have available to pay for the MCR engineering and the additional biological
So we have
work.
15,906
That
remaining
would
in the
be,
fund.
yes, that would
Mhm.
be the remaining balance of the original 101,500.
Which would take us to surveying around 60K.
So the survey will be additional 10K,
Mhm.
getting the boundary math and topography done. And then the construction documents are about 50,000. And again, this is a very rough estimate that they gave us. It doesn't have a specific set scope of work. So I didn't want to, put that little asterisk there of like, if I come back next year and say, hey, it's actually this amount, I want to put that little warning out there.
Back to the options, and are there any council comments or questions?
Just for clarification, the more biologists, they're just looking to reassess what the elderberries are kind of,
Yes.
where they're growing and
So
stuff.
one of the issues that we've had, so in one of the previous things we looked at was trying to join this SJCOG habitat plan, which provided mitigation measures that would be very favorable for us to perform this project. And so in order to do so, there's a couple of requirements to join this part of this plan. And after months and months of conversations, we learned that we are not eligible to be part of that. The big trigger is in their, I guess you say, bylaws of joining this plan is the property cannot be federally owned. And so with this being Army Corps of Engineers, that's kind of the big trigger there of why this project's not eligible to be part of the plan. And so what that would do is we talked with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, who give consultation on this portion of it of, hey, how can we do this project? You cannot avoid an elderberry bush. There's a lot out there. There's a lot that have grown that are too big, too small. It's nearly impossible to create a trail that avoids all of it. And so they've given us guidance on how far the trail needs to be from the elderberry bushes in order for us to keep count of it and see how much it would disturb it. So with that guidance, which we didn't have before, we will take with the consultant who will go out there and remeasure, recount. Again, things have changed over 3 years. Things have grown. Things have died. Things have planted anew.
So they're charging us like per bush or something.
Sounds
Sounds like there's so many.
This is at least
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
Just along the trail, mind you.
Yeah, so I would also like to
in
get like to invite David up here with JB Anderson. He's the consultant that's helping us with that, who's way more involved in this, way more knowledgeable. So
And then before we pass it on, I'm assuming it's only federal grants that qualify for this, right? For the 50-50 matches, right?
not necessarily. So the state of California offers one specific for trails.
Okay.
There's also nonprofit grants out there, charitable organizations that work with exercise or parks and recreation.
I just want to make sure like
So-
those options are out
Yeah,
there. because it
there's
is a
other
federal
yeah,
property, right?
exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you, Michael, Mayor, members of the council. David Niskin and JB Anderson, Ladies Planning, helping the city through the environmental portion of this project. Diane Moore is the biologist that's assigned to this project. She's a sub under us. Her work is primarily focused on mapping out the elderberry shrubs that are out there and avoiding impacts to those elderberry shrubs. So that's why you see the trail kind of wind through the property there. It's not so much as a matter of reassessing the amount of elderberry shrubs out there. What we're doing with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is called a Section 7 consultation, which is required by the Endangered Species Act. And it's the coordination between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as the property owner and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which is the regulatory body that manages and enforces the Endangered Species Act. The parameters in which the biological assessment's done has to be consistent with the parameters that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife provides. And that's different for every single project along every single river corridor. And it's very specific to each project area. So for this project, we had to work with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to define what those parameters are. How far out from the trail does the biological assessment need to map elderberry shrubs? Is it 175 feet? Is it 20 feet, 50 feet? If there's shrubs within a certain foot distance, because there are guidelines in place from the federal agency, from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that defines what an impact would be to an elderberry shrub. That's the definition that we worked with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and that's why Diane Moore and her biology team need to go back out there to really add to what they've done already. They've already done a lot of work in mapping the existing shrubs along the trail corridor, but now it's to refine that analysis to be within the parameters that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have provided. And that brings in MCR engineering, because you really can't use a red line on a map on Google Earth. You really need to have a defined topo survey and a cross section to define the foot distance between the end of the trail and to the elderberry shrub. Keep in mind that the elderberry shrub and the elderberry beetle is a federally recognized species. So any impact to the shrub in which it inhabits is a pretty significant impact as it relates to mitigation fees. I mean, just one impact to a healthy adult shrub can be hundreds of thousands of dollars of impact fees. So it's very important that the trail location avoids it completely, and that the trail mapping is defined by an engineer. How we got to this point is that because the properties within San Joaquin County has the habitat plan that, like Michael said, and projects in that county are able to participate in that plan, which short circuits the consultation process that normally would be required for these projects. Meaning that if you participate in the plan, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the state Fish and Game are already signatories to that plan. So they already have all the documentation they need to complete the consultation process. Without that, we have to go through this consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. At the end of the day, what they'll provide to the city, if all goes according to plan, is a finding that there is no impact to the elderberry shrub, that species, with certain construction measures in place, like dust mitigation, using hand tools in specific portions of the trail that are closer to elderberry shrubs than others, things like that. So that's why the additional work is needed. Where we come in is to complete the environmental document as a whole, but the most important component of that is the biological section, as well as the cultural section too, but more so biology in this case, since it's along the Stanislaus River and there's so many elderberry shrubs out there. So yeah, I hope that provides a little bit of context, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Some things today. Yes, thank you. And if we were to move forward with this, is there some sort of, I don't know if statute of limitations is the right word, or expiration, or is it according to any policy changes that may happen with U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
No, the biggest hurdle that we achieved already is to define the parameters for the biological assessment. So and if council approves the moving forward with this project, the next step would be for the biologist to go back out to the site and complete the biological assessment, some additional field work, with the parameters in mind for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to complete the consultation process with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that results in a complete NEPA document on the federal side for the environmental, because we'll complete the California Environmental Quality Act portion of that project, which would use the same biological assessment. It's just done a little bit differently because it requires that federal lens to it as opposed to just California. So
David, to clarify on the mayor's question, so if, for example, they certify the CEQA, NEPA, that gets recorded and we can't fund it for another 5 or 6 years, there's not any additional work that we would have to perform at that point in time?
There would not be any additional work that would need to be done. Yeah, that's correct. Because you'll have the approved CEQA document, the recorded notice of determination, and then you'll have the NEPA side completed with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service with the finding from that Section 7 consultation.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other council comments or questions?
I've been on the Friends of Jacob Myers committee for a long time, since I was on council before, along with Cal Campbell. And just a couple of comments to let you guys know. First of all, let's remember this land is not something we're purchasing. It is being given to us by the US Army Corps of Engineers, which is a huge benefit to the city. We've been talking about this for years. We've been wanting to move forward with it. A lot of the people in the city that ride the mountain bikes and such are looking forward to this type of trail because that's specifically what it's for, is more mountain biking than it is for walking, although walking would also be a benefit. Just a little history. This was a big thing for Scott McRitchie. He worked on this too when he was alive. And so I'd like to see it move forward for him. And then, of course, the Friends of Jacob Myers, the group that we currently have that is getting smaller, would like to see it move forward. And I personally would like to see it move forward. I think it would be a benefit to the city. I've worked on several projects where you're dealing with these multiple agencies. It is not fun. It is not easy. I'm so sorry, Michael. I apologize for you having to do it, but when you finally get everything done and the benefit is there for the city, it's going to be wonderful. So I'd like to see personally it move forward. Thank you.
Okay, I like it. I like this project a lot. The one part that I'm uncomfortable with is to come up here and approve, the money's already allocated from the ARPA fund. So that part surveying the project, getting the biologists out there, seeing what exactly we're looking at, 110% comfortable with that. What I'm uncomfortable with is approving an additional 60,000 to move forward with survey design and construction, because we understand the volatility of construction and the costs with construction. So it could be 60,000 today, but by the time the surveying's done in a year, it could be 120,000, whatever it may be. So for me, I would choose option 3 and approving us to get the surveying done and then bring that report back to council so we can see exactly what we're looking at and get a better idea of how much elderberry shrubs are out, how many elderberry shrubs are out there, where they've grown, if they've kind of intruded into the lines that have already been drawn, if we need to redraw. So getting a better idea of what those construction costs are going to look like and the feasibility of even doing this project. So.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here, Councilmember Call, is we're focusing on the 2 proposals, which are the 19,200 for the biologist and the 23,000 for the cross section, all that. As far as the construction documents, we're not focused on that right now. That's gonna be in the future, like you mentioned. We're not seeking approval for any of that, but again, just be aware where if we have $15,000, around $6,000 left, there might be a ask in the future of, hey, we need additional funding to cover this portion of the project. So it's nothing that's going to be coming in the next short time, I should say. So
that was my next question. What's the timeline look like on this project and approving this tonight if we did?
I might have David come up and address that one.
Yeah, Councilmember Call. Timing is really dependent on the biologist, a technical study. She does have to go back out there, and the elderberry shrub is such that it really would happen later in spring or early summer next year. Once that's complete, the CEQA document is actually pretty close to being done as far as in draft form. So it'd be pretty shortly after that. So I'd expect to be able to come back to council either spring or early fall next year.
I agree with you, Councilwoman Call, that we do need to talk about the next steps. But I think, like she said, we're in favor of approving the money to go ahead and get these environmental things completed so that we can get our CEQA completed. And I think then we'll have a better idea to go out to go out and see how much it would be to do construction. You know, lots of things change. There might be more opportunities for grants. There might be opportunities for There's companies out there that like to do this stuff that maybe will have volunteers that will help with the construction. There's a lot of different things that we could do, but I think right now we'd like to move ahead with option 2, which is approving this, right, Michael? It's just approving these funds.
So it's just to give direction. So what we'll probably do is the next city council come up with the amendments and the proposals for a vote of approval. But right now it's just give direction on how staff to approach this.
So go ahead.
Real quick, I'll move over to public comment before I forget. Is there any public comment? And then we'll come back to council or
Mayor,
online.
we have public comment.
Okay.
Diego.
So I looked into this just before I came here. I figured out what I was talking about. I pulled up the U.S. Wildlife's their management categories or profile for this elderberry beetle. Pretty extensive. You can only touch them at specific times of the year. You can only transplant them at specific times of the year. And if you move them, you have to have a 3-to-1 ratio of potential land. And then if the elderberry, which is growing on its own, if it gets to 1 inch in diameter at its stalk, good luck. You're not gonna be able to touch it. Now, I think it's a scam, really. Because the only one that I looked up was an unpublished document in 1978. And I found it in the Federal Register when this first got listed. The Endangered Species Act passed in 1973. And there's one unpublished study from an EYABK, which I believe is a biologist that was at UC Davis, which is coincidentally where the hearings were heard for this specific elder beetle in 1978 and then in 1980. So I don't... Not only that, I believe in 2000 and then also in 2014, the U.S. Wildlife actually petitioned to remove this species as an endangered species. It's happened twice, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the last, they're on a 5-year renewal, and I believe the last renewal ends in 2026. So in 2026, what happens if it's delisted, right? If we don't have the funds to like fully move forward, who knows? Maybe the elderberry beetle won't be a problem anymore because it's not even on the register anymore. Like I said, the U.S. Wildlife has been trying to get this removed on 2 different attempts. They put out the notices, and then somewhere some people come up and say, no, don't mess with that. And there was a case for the Lodi jail where they, I think they messed up and they had to pay like $17,000 in additional fees because they slightly messed up or one of the plants kept growing. I think it's kind of a little bit scammy, really. So I would suggest holding off and waiting and seeing what happens from the 5-year review, which I believe is due next year.
I've worked for the city of Modesto for 17 years, and I've heard about the elderberry bush for years. I wouldn't count on it going away because a lot of people like it.
Above our pay grade here.
Yeah.
Is there any other public comment? Please.
Good evening. When we get to the point where we put it out for construction, I would recommend the city, the council, and Friends of Jacob Myers Park, maybe asking one of the big box retailers if they'd like to sponsor part of the trail. Maybe there might be a Save Mart trail or a, cost less trail, a grocery outlet trail, a Harbor Freight trail, something. I just don't think the city could take on a big additional amount of debt. I mean, as a homeowner, I love what Parks and Rec and Public Works have done for the park close to me, Silva Park. They're a fantastic team. I run, jog, walk by Silva Park daily. It's clean. They're a super great team. They're awesome the way they keep it up. I love the way they built it up. But when I'm looking to buy a house or when I'm trying to get my friends and relatives to buy something in Riverbank, they're thinking about the infrastructure, the water, sewer, I mean, whether you paid $100,000 for your house or $1 million over in River Heights, your house, or you put that kind of money into it, they want to be able to flush their toilets every day and not worry. So, I mean, I would definitely, from the very beginning, you guys asked us for input at the beginning of this year to come to the planning meeting to give us, and I've always been focused on infrastructure and public safety. That's always. And think it's great. I think it's great what you want to do for the trail, but I would try to look for private funding donations. Comes time to put it out, out to bid. Thank you.
That is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And so as I bring it back to council, I want to clarify, tonight we're considering the 58,000 remaining just for the two items there for the when the proposed expenditures.
Yes, it's being able to move forward with the 42,200 of that 58
And
to
maybe in
complete
about
that.
a year's time, we'll come back to reconsider.
Correct.
Permitting, et cetera.
Do we
So
make a motion or do we just?
You can make a motion for the selected option, or you can give direction.
I make a motion that we do option 2 because that just includes doing the 2 studies. And then we look further, once those are completed, into how to afford or maintain and pay for construction costs. But let's get this stuff done so that we have an idea of what we're looking at. And maybe by some act of God, the elderberry bush will come off the list.
And I'll second it.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 for option
Thank
number
you very
2.
much. Thank you both. Item 11.3, a resolution to approve a contract change order for value engineering for the regional recycled water project.
Mayor and council, your Director of Public Works, Cody Bridgewater, will provide this report.
Mayor, members of the council, item 11.3 is KSN's portion of the value engineering phase and project management. So as a summary, City of Riverbank has successfully completed preparation of the 60% design documents, and staff is looking to continue progress with the value engineering phase of the design. This value engineering study will identify cost savings opportunities for the project and will be performed in close coordination with Brown and Caldwell, assessing potential impacts to overall design and operation of the facility. The scope of work also includes a third-party opinion of probable cost for the Riverbank Regional Recycled Water Project. So KSN submitted a proposal at a cost of $194,310 to begin the value engineering. This is a crucial time being that we have not yet entered final design and allows us to easily make changes to the design without excessive wasted costs altering final design. Based on preliminary estimates, approximately 14 million can be saved with minimal effort. Staff hopes to extend those savings through this VE portion of the project design. So the scope of work from KSN includes coordination and leading of the value engineering kickoff workshop to include city staff, Brown and Caldwell, former known as BNC, and Ewing Construction Services, or ECS. Development of the value engineering recommendations to be considered by Brown and Caldwell. The coordination and leading of the VE workshop to review recommendations with the design consultant and the city. And preparing a VE recommendations report that would be presented to council, summarizing the recommendations for implementation into the project based on the decisions made by the city, KSN, BNC, and ECS. KSN's proposal is actually 2 parts and is broken up as follows. Part A is $84,440 and includes both KSN and ECS as reviewers and VE support. Part B, which is an optional portion to the scope, is $109,870. And this is the third-party opinion of probable costs, which is essentially an engineer's estimate that will be developed by ECS. So what ECS will do is they will go through Brown and Caldwell's engineer's estimate line by line. And ECS, they have a water and wastewater construction background. That's what they specialize in. So they will review Brown and Caldwell's engineer's estimate, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and make any alterations and adjustments that they see fit to those costs. they will look at the constructability of the project, areas that can be manipulated as far as construction goes. Maybe we would save time and money by, moving X amount of dirt at this time, instead of instead of over excavation in one area, we can maybe import dirt or do some other type of soil treatment based on compaction results. Things like that, ECS will be able to look at with their construction background, and they would be providing more of a construction bid versus an engineer's estimate. So they're going to look at it at a contractor's point of view and essentially give a preliminary bid as to what the 60% design looks like at this time. So again, the scope fee breakdown of the 84,440, option A incorporates the coordination and leading of the VE workshops, the development of the VE recommendations, and preparation of the VE recommendations report based on city and design engineer decisions. And the third party opinion of probable construction costs, which is the 109,870, is the work that's based on built-in design constraints identified during the review of the plans and specs and constructability considerations based on ECS's construction industry experience. So the cost of this overall element with the two options combined is $194,310 that would be appropriated from the city's sewer funds 106. And again, these funds have been collected via the 5-year sewer rates implemented by City Council in 2022. So staff recommends City Council award the contract change order for the value engineering phase of the design for the Riverbank Regional Recycled Water Project Phase 1 to KSN Incorporated, and to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with said firm in the amount of $194,310 and authorize the budget appropriation from Sewer Fund 106 for said contract. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could step in, our goal in bringing this forward at this point in time is earlier this evening, we approved the feasibility study. So Blackwater will begin that process. It's approximately an 8-month process in bringing this forward and being able to perform the value engineering and looking where we could possibly scale back or phase the existing project as it is now. It's to give another project that Blackwater can evaluate as part of that final feasibility study. This particular portion of the project would only take about a 3-month process, 3 to 4 month process. So it would be complete before that feasibility study is completed. So they would be able to take that information and evaluate it and be able to give you a full scope of all of the options, including this scaled back version that has already evaluated some of these value engineering options.
So just first question then, why not bring this back in May then? So that way it kind of lines up. If it's only a 3-month process, why not bring it, say, in May? Construction costs, we would get a better idea during that time. We don't know kind of what's going to go on, right? So we still got, we're going to get the report back from Blackwater, August 2026. Things are going to be a little bit different there. So just kind of curious why the timelines, why so early?
My hope was to get it in front of Blackwater before their report is being finalized. It may take 2 to 3 months for them to finalize their reports after comments from staff. So the earlier they have this information, the more information they really have to work with in developing that feasibility study.
And then, so going back to the two, Part A and Part B for this item, would Blackwater, and I think it's just hard for me to consider this item with having the contract approved tonight with Blackwater and not having had the conversation with them. And maybe you can answer this, but I also don't want to put you on the spot. Could we move forward with Part A? And would that be sufficient for Blackwater to assess alongside of their feasibility study?
If you leave Part B out, we technically do not have as accurate of an engineer's estimate. So what Part B allows us to do is that allows us to give that contractor's lens, because an engineer's estimate from a design engineer could be plus or minus 20%. When you have a contractor's lens look at it, they're looking at profit, workability, construction cost, mobilization, all of these things. The design engineer can do that, but they can only do it off of previous bids that they have been a part of. So with the construction industry and the contractor's lens, they have experience doing this every day. So they know what the actual costs are and what it takes to actually do this. B&C can design a facility, but they can't build it. So by having that contractor's viewpoint, they know what it takes to construct these things.
So
Technically, yes. And so you would end up basically with just a general estimate versus the very specifics that we would want you and be Blackwater to be able to have to do that full evaluation of the feasibility of that specific portion of the project.
So I'll tell you why I like what you're bringing to us. And it's very multifaceted because the community has asked for unbiased and third-party opinions on the work that we're doing. And this gives us that opportunity to do that. We as a council have asked for value-added engineering. The community has asked for value-added engineering. And if we approve this tonight, this gives us an opportunity to have the value engineering done and in a timely manner so that it can go to Blackwater. So Blackwater can include it in the feasibility study. So we can have that no limitation, full circle feasibility study that we've been looking for, whether it be expanding the current facility, improvising, value-added engineering. If we want a full circle feasibility study, we need to include some of the things that we're asking for, and we have been asking for the value-added engineering. So I like it.
Hi. Okay, so I've looked at the 60% drawings and I've looked at your proposal tonight. And I need you to explain to me, first of all, why on the 90% drawings, the value added engineering was only $17,490. And now you're coming to us and wanting us to give you $194,000, which I understand now it's only 84, which by the way, was not in the report, which I need to make clear to you that we need to have that information in the reports. When I was to just read this, there's no mention that there's two different things. And that would have been nice to have in here. But anyway, so before it was 17,000 for this one. Now it's 84,000. Why?
In the original, the 90%, there was other elements of the value engineering that were rolled into other meetings, say design review meetings, coordination meetings. This is specifically focused on value engineering. Also, that 84,000 encompasses both KSN's price and ECS. It's not just KSN. So the part A, which is the 84,440, is KSN and ECS as a subconsultant to KSN. Part B, which is the optional portion, is ECS only at the additional 109,870.
So again, why now? I mean, we haven't even had our kickoff meeting with Blackwater to even go over what we're asking them to do. And when I look at what they proposed, there's not really an alternative that says evaluate and tell us what you think of what Brown and Caldwell's doing. There's not, it's looking at three different alternatives, but it's not really looking at exactly that project. So why would we need to provide that information to them when that's not what we asked them to do? We asked them to look at different alternatives. We didn't ask them to evaluate this one and then give us alternatives. We asked them for alternatives. And now we want to spend, and only on this one, $194 for something that we haven't even met with Blackwater. I think it's early. I think it's too soon. I think we need to stand by and wait a couple months, let Blackwater get their feet wet, let them see what's going on, and then, meet with them after they've started in maybe March and say, okay, now this is what we are thinking about doing. How will that help you? Right now, I don't think it's a good time. I don't think it's the right time, and I think it's way too much money.
So Vice Mayor, we did ask them to evaluate the current project. that is part of their scope of work. So they will be looking at absolutely everything, including proceeding with the project as it currently stands. What we wanted to be able to do is be able to give them a second option, a scaled down version that already had gone through that value engineering process. So
And-
basically, we'll receive a spreadsheet that has maybe 15 different options and gives you the feasibility of each one so that you can then take that document and evaluate it.
And according to what I've read, their scaled down and possible reductions was only 14 million. That ain't much compared to 136 million. I mean, 14 million is nothing. I just don't think that right now is the time to be doing this. I think we need to let Blackwater get involved, let them look at what they're doing, let them look at all the stuff. I mean, we haven't even asked them to look at the drawings. I mean, they don't know, in all reality, they don't even know anything except what we gave them in our RFP. I just don't think it's the time. I think we need to wait. I think we need to wait 3 months, maybe 4, still giving them enough time to do the review of this and do all this, but they don't even know. I don't understand between this one and the next item, why we're even doing this. I mean, it just, I don't understand it. I don't think it's time. I don't think it's necessary. I think that's why we hired Blackwater to do these evaluations. And then once they come back, then we go back to Brown and Caldwell and KSN and say, okay, this is what Blackwater's saying. What do you think? Okay, yeah, maybe it extends the project a month or 2 before we start construction, but holy smokes, how much money are we going to spend on doing this? Yeah, it just.
So I really want to appreciate staff because I mean that's how council has been managing items in general, is proactivity and being proactive in general. And so I appreciate that. Like Councilman Bodiba was alluding to, and frankly, with the holidays and everything coming up, I think, and then personally, I was sick, so I was not able to ask a ton of questions. I would feel more comfortable just tabling it to January's meeting, so that we're able to ask the questions, and have these conversations and still be proactive, in the contract with, Blackwater as we have the conversations with them. We would still be ahead of the game. It would still be, proactive in these conversations, but giving, the council and residents more time to ask some of these, more nuanced questions. Because I don't think, there's anything other than, the intent to be proactive here. And so I'm going to move to public comment real quick, did you want to add anything, please?
So I have a question. So when we enter our contract into Blackwater, I imagine it's pretty specific. It's a costly contract. It's $200,000. So our requests are spelled out pretty specifically on what we're requesting. We're requesting the full project and the feasibility of that, tying into Medhesto. We're specifically requesting that. Everything that we're asking for is specific. So could we include the value added, the value engineering without having the plans done? Or I guess my question, if we submit our contract with value engineering, wouldn't there be an expectation that that value engineering is done in time for them to review it before that 8-month cycle is done? So in delaying this, do we possibly run into a place where the value engineering isn't done in time for them to review and include in the feasibility study? So then in return, do we have to go back and do another feasibility study for the value engineering? Is that kind of the situation that we're putting ourselves in by tabling something like this?
You could possibly run into that option, is that the goal is to be, they're already going in eyes wide shut. They have not explored any other options. They don't know what the discussions with Modesto are going to be. They have not looked at vacant land within the city of Riverbank to evaluate if there's a space for us to be able to do a second wastewater treatment plant. So they have not looked at these projects that we've asked them to look into because the contract is just now getting approved. So being able to have that information as quickly as possible, because yes, we'll do a kickoff meeting. We'll detail to them, look, these are the projects that we want to make sure that you look at, but we're not limiting you to these. You are the expert. We want you to go out and look to see if there are other options, i.e., maybe just purchasing more land and just expanding our ponds, or just moving to secondary treatment or some level of tertiary treatment, but not the full scope. So all of those are the options that we want them to come back and be able to tell us, what is the best option moving forward. So being able to get this done now they're already gonna be behind the 8 ball, because it's not gonna be something they'll immediately look at. So they'll start to focus on all of those other projects and starting the conversations with regards to those, while waiting for this to get completed if it does move forward.
I think a comment
Councilmember-
needs to be,
Real quick, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Redibet had a comment.
I think one of the comments that needs to be said here, and I'm going to say it because that's me. The city can't afford $180 million project to do this. So if we can't afford to do the project, why are we doing value engineering? Why are we spending this money to do this project that we don't even know that we can afford? I think it's money that's not well spent. I think it's not the time. And I think we need to let Blackwater step in here and say, hey, this is what we're looking at initially. Come on, guys. Are we really thinking we can afford $180 million project to do recycled water? I don't think the citizens want to pay for that. They look at their rates now at 80 million. I can't afford if it goes in doubles. So I think we need to evaluate, is this really what we want to do right now? And let's be honest, is this project going to be something that's viable?
And that's the goal of the feasibility study, to be able to give you that information so that you can make an informed decision moving forward.
Even if it goes over 80 million, it's not viable. Our citizens can't afford it.
So I think as a council, we've kind of already identified that we're seeking federal funding before, right, we move to committing to full design, right? So that's not kind of what we're discussing here. So I think so Blackwater wasn't planning to be doing like a deep dive value engineering, right? They're going to be looking at all the options, right, at a higher level. So this gives, with the timeline that I'm worried about the timeline if we move forward with this, and the residents have been asking us constantly, we want all the numbers, we want non-biased numbers, we want to hear the hard truth, and this is going to cost us money so they can hear the hard truth, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Right.
the goal is to give Blackwater all of the detailed information that we possibly can.
Right. And so if we want to share all of the information where everything's lining up exactly to what we're trying to reach to that August 2026 deadline, right? So we're not spending additional money like Councilmember Call stated, right? So trying to revisit a bunch of different things. I just want to make sure if we do postpone it, like the mayor said, to January, I'm fine with that, right? If it's just a 3-month process, I was good until May. I think we should move forward with this. If we're going to give the residents a full scope, a full picture, unbiased, yeah, it's going to cost us money. We don't want to spend the money, right? But we have to do it so we get the hard truth, the hard numbers. And I hear the comments about 80 million is a lot. It is. It's a lot, but we're in this position because we have an old failing system. So everybody has agreed that we have to do something. And so what is that something? And so that's just what we're trying to seek. So.
And again, it's not $80 million anymore. It's what's the last estimate? 140, 136. It's not 80 million. So.
Public comment. Is there any comment here in the chamber?
Yes, Mr. Diego Hernandez.
How do we know it's failing? We didn't do a service life assessment on it. So how do we know it's failing? There's water treatment facilities that are just as old. They get operated on, updates. First time I've heard that it's failing. Neil Caldwell, obviously him and Caldwell, you know, those people, they have a vested interest in trying to get more funds out of this project, try to keep it viable, because they're probably concerned that we may be looking at other options, just like we signed up for the 9.3 resolution. The timeliness of this seems to be they're trying to keep themselves in the race because the project has ballooned beyond what's acceptable. So just to backtrack, and people in the audience know, it was 88 million to start. After the increases are supposed to stop, just so that the debt service coverage ratio, which is basically all the revenue that is taken in from the enterprise minus the net operating expenses, the minimum that I can lend at, because I'm a
Diego,
mortgage
can you
broker,
address the council, please?
I'm addressing everybody. The minimum that I can lend at is 1.25%, and they have to already increase it 4% just at the 88 million, just so they can maintain a debt service coverage ratio of 1.36. It wasn't even affordable at the onset, right? The people that have been giving you guys numbers have been not being truthful with you. Eric Helgelson, he has a presentation that was presented in September that we still don't have numbers on. Apparently they exist in pro forma, but I can't see them. Now it's 136 million. Any movement forward on this project right now with KSN, Caldwell, at the last presentation that Eric Helgelson said, it's going to increase 6% per year going forward, meaning that we would have a $300 sewer bill every 2 months. We started this off at $49.92. We are the most expensive. We're projecting ourselves to be the most expensive sewer enterprise anywhere near us, not just by 40, 50%. We're talking almost 200 to 230, 40%. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. I think maybe we should take a look at the vested interests that have been pushing the councils before you guys to try to move forward with this project. Way back in the past, there was a developer, Group A, in 2007 who was trying to do the Riverwalk, right? They were trying to do the Riverwalk. It was owned by a company by the name of Barusa LLC. They are related to William Berryhill, right? They're related. They had a repurchase agreement after they foreclosed on the property, and they got into that in 2014. They sued them. They got out of it in 2019. 6 months later, it ended up on our strategic plan. That's what happened. And then we also needed the wastewater treatment facility. All of a sudden, we had to push it, right? It's a scam. Like, our neighbors deserve better. Like, if we need another system, we need to look at the base alternatives. The original sale that they gave us was like, hey, we'll do all this recycled water component. We only identified 2 farmers who can take it. Maybe there's 4, but we'll get you guys all these grants, and it's only going to cost you 88 million. Supposedly, if we do this value engineering construction costs, they'll be within 20%. Neil Caldwell and KSN haven't even been within 60%. The project's overgrown like 67% in additional expenses. Doesn't make any sense. We could head into a recession, right? There's an AI bubble, maybe, potentially. 50% of all growth in this country by GDP has been specifically by 3 companies: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google. If there's any scale back at the major level, it's going to have a repercussion that's going to come down. It's going to affect purchases, developments. It's unrealistic to expect any type of project in the Riverwalk to take off. We should be content with the system we have now and look for viable alternatives, which is what Blackwater is doing.
Mayor, we had one written comment. I don't know if there's anyone in the chamber that wishes to speak.
Is there any more public comment? Please.
Andy Richardson, 3126 Stanislaus. In leadership, one of the things that I've learned is that if you don't do something about what's before you, people start to lose trust in your leadership. And this is, there's people watching. The state of California is watching. The people I've talked to about the Modesto idea, they said it's a huge mistake. It may be cheaper and less of money, but it's going to end up costing Riverbank in the long run. And the public has spoken, and this is the cost for them to get what they're asking for. And if you guys want to know which direction to go, this is what you have to do.
Hi again, Michael Christie. I just wanted to ask Mr. Bridgewater to explain this system that as he explained to me one-on-one very thorough, because it is failing. As I disagree with Mr. Hernandez behind me, this system is failing. It needed to be done, but needed to be redone before many of you were even on the council. And I feel bad for you because a lot of you got handed a big responsibility. But this should have been done well before 2022. So if you can just maybe speak on the current state of the system, if that's okay, if that would be okay.
We're gonna take the rest of public comment and come back to it. Thank you.
Darlene?
Hey, Darlene Barbara Martinez. My concern has always been that we need to do something. The system is old, and if we don't address it, and heaven forbid, a disaster will happen, what do we do then? So we'll be backtracking, trying to correct mistakes that, we're pushing the can down the road, and we need to do something. And I know you'll make the best selection, the best choice, and I'll put it in your hands. Thank you.
Anyone else in the chamber? We have one on Zoom, Mayor. Mrs. Zager, can you please unmute?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Jamie Yeagers, 7730 McHenry Avenue, Modesto, California. I've read this staff report and the staff report for the next agenda item, and neither one really adequately explained why the need to spend between the two items another $330,000 now to gather more information when you just tonight awarded the contract to kick off the feasibility study. So I just wanted to say that it's really confusing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, we had one written comment on items 11.3 and 11.4 from Mr. Richard Holmer. I was shocked to read, I'm sorry, this doesn't read well. I was shocked to read that you are awarding contracts on items 11.3 and 11.4, basically awarding over $300,000 to continue planning the stage 3 sewer plant. Talk about the cart before the horse. I believe that those two items must be postponed until the feasibility study is completed and direction from that study is approved. Thank you for your consideration of my request. And that is all we have.
And Cody, could you briefly comment on the failing portion?
Yeah, so our treatment plant, as we all know, is quite old. Our permit is from 1994, I believe. It's very limited in our requirements as far as the level of treatment is concerned. We have a assumed hydraulic capacity of 1.8 million gallons per day, and our average dry weather flow currently is 1.6 to 1.65 million gallons per day. So we're running at about 90 to 93% capacity as we are today. We currently already have issues with maintaining dissolved oxygen levels in our treatment basins. Dissolved oxygen is the leftover oxygen that's in the wastewater after the microorganisms have done their job to attempt to consume the waste that's in the water. Our permit requires that we keep at least 1.0 milligrams per liter of dissolved oxygen in the wastewater at all times. We currently cannot do that. And that is running our 4 blowers at full capacity, which is not the way that the treatment plant was designed. The upgrade that took place in, I believe it was 2012, 2013, was supposed to account for that. And it was an energy efficiency upgrade. And at that time, it worked for a little bit, but now where we're at today, it does not. We cannot adequately treat the wastewater coming in order to maintain our permit compliance. On top of that, we have additional regulations that have been instituted by the state, which requires us to either buy into a program and basically pay for our compliance with nitrates and CV salts, or we can go the treatment route and treat to a certain level of the nitrate levels, which I believe is less than 10 milligrams per liter, which we physically cannot do. We do not have the ability to do that. So right now we're actually having just to pay for compliance. Upgrading the facility, no matter which route we go, we would put it into the design to where we could do biological nutrient removal that allows us to get out of paying for that compliance by just simply treating to the level we need to treat to. Full disclosure, we have issues with groundwater degradation out there because of the level of treatment that comes out of that plant. There's coliform issues, there's nitrate issues, there's IBODs, there's metal issues, and the state is actively pursuing redoing our monitoring reporting program, instituting new requirements for us to test for. Just had a meeting with them probably a month ago to give comments on their revised permit. So the state's already looking at us. The state knows that we have an antiquated plant. The state knows that we have groundwater degradation because we have reports that are sent in on a quarterly basis and they review those. So the time is coming to where we need to do something with the facility, and we're at that time.
But the state also knows we're working towards finding
Yes.
solutions.
Yes,
Yeah.
they know that we are actively working towards a solution right now. And that solution that the state knows about is the current design.
And so I want to reaffirm that this feasibility study is only to be able to concretely say to our residents that we're reviewing all options that because something needs to be done. And so this also, we've made clear that doesn't stop the support of the regional recycled water plant. And at this point, when are we supposed to have a sit down with Blackwater?
So a kickoff meeting will probably be scheduled within the next couple of weeks because we've now awarded the contract. That's where we'll kind of give them sort of our final scope of work or ensure that the items that they're looking at are specific to what council has requested, with also giving them the flexibility to explore other options. So that's what the kickoff meeting will entail, and then they'll kind of just go off on their own to be able to do all of that background work. So there will be check-in meetings, of course, with Cody to make sure that the progress of the report is going as we feel it needs to go, give them some direction where they have questions, also giving them access to all of the documentation that we have to date with regards to this specific project, so that they can do a full vetting of it as part of that feasibility study.
I would love to ask that the vice mayor and one of the other council members sit in on that kickoff meeting so that, so we can have 2 council members there. And at this point, I would feel more comfortable. We have a meeting January 12th. If we could table these 2 items or this item until January 12th, we have our kickoff meeting in a couple weeks. They understand kind of the dynamic that's happening here, and we reassess these items come the new year. I mean, there's 3 big holidays between now and then, and so if the council would be supportive, are there any other comments or questions at this point? I would like to make a motion to table item 11.3, and if appropriate, 11.4 for the January 12th meeting. I'm not saying no at this point, rather giving us some more time to consider these items.
So just for clarification, tabling it to the first meeting in January?
Mhm.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
No.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
thank you. Thank you, Cody. Oh, we have to go through the.
Yes,
okay.
you would have to do a separate, because we do have public comment that we may have received for those agenda items. So we do want to make sure we open that up for
Thank you.
discussion.
And Cody, item 11.4, resolution to approve a
Full
contract
presentation?
change order.
Um,
Whatever, if there's differences,
Slightly.
if you could just name those, that'd be great.
yeah, if anything, just to give the members of the public
Yes,
sort
yeah.
of the presentation and be
Great.
able to hear some of the
Yep.
specifics with regards to the work that Brown and Caldwell is going
Right.
to do versus what KSN was
you.
doing.
Sure thing. So in 2024, City Council approved the 60% design phase for the Riverbank Regional Recycled Water Project. And now that 60% is complete, staff is looking to continue progress with value engineering phase of the design. Value engineering is a systematic process utilized to develop alternative and lower cost solutions. With the concern of the total project cost being approximately $136 million, it's vital for us to look at the possibility of eliminating some costs while still being able to meet our goal of producing high quality recycled water for the purpose of resale. This process will help determine a final project that can be evaluated as part of the wastewater treatment plant expansion feasibility study. So Brown and Caldwell submitted a proposal at $138,475 to begin the value engineering. In the effort to reduce overall costs, save design time, and avoid massive redesign due to value engineering at the 90% level, staff is proposing to perform the VE phase now. Preliminary reviews of the 60% design brought forward some viable options for cost savings, which include but are not limited to equipment pre-selection, which is a savings of about 3.37 million. Elimination of one secondary clarifier, which is 5 million. Earthwork and site civil work, 4 million. Hypochlorite feed station, 0.7 million. Reducing it to a single headwork screen instead of two, 0.3 million. Site piping modifications, 0.9 million. Emergency storage alterations, 0.9 million. And reduction of recycled water storage tank, approximately 2 million. So this is just initial 15-minute look at the 60% design, and we've come up with about 14.17 million in potential savings. This does not look at the engineer's estimate, constructability, construction costs, anything like that. So Brown and Caldwell's scope of work would be prepare and maintain VE decision logs, QA and QC review of the 60% design as related to the VE study, biweekly coordination meetings based on VE decisions and design support, internal VE brainstorming sessions in preparation for the VE study and workshops, the VE workshop attendance, and coordinate and address comments with the VE team and incorporate into the design, evaluating design justifications and estimating the viability of suggested changes. The cost of this element of the project, pardon me, is $138,475 to be appropriated from City Sewer Fund 106. Should be noted that this scope fee is presented as a time and materials based fee, which means that should all of hours proposed not be needed, the total will be less than the proposed fee. These funds have been collected via the 5-year sewer rate implemented by council in 2022. Staff recommends that City Council approve contract change order for the value engineering phase for the Regional Recycled Water Project Phase 1 to Brown and Caldwell and authorize the budget appropriation in the amount of $138,475 from Sewer Fund 106. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on this item?
Based on my other comments, but I have a bigger issue on this one. So I compared the two, and the description of what they're going to do matches 100% with what was in their 60% drawings. Yet in the 60% drawings, it was $62,409. Now it's $138,475 for the exact same work. Could you please explain that to me?
Again, there's more hours associated with this work because additional work was associated with other tasks in the 90% design. So this is value engineering specific.
So was this, so was the 62,000. and it was, let's see, well, because I can't print 8.5 by 15, I don't know how many hours. I find it odd that it's more than doubled the cost. That seems extreme to me. I don't know if it does to anybody else, but I just question that. It's my only comment.
Was it because it was a package deal? So we're getting more value for a larger package. This is more refined. It's going to cost more because now you're cherry picking it.
Any public comment in person or online?
Mayor, we have Diego Hernandez on the line.
Please vote no on this item. The only thing that I wanted to say is stress is before we spend any more money on this program, I think we should do some outreach. Let the members of the public know that at the best case scenario that has been presented to us so far, we will have to increase rates again, 6% at minimum per year for an additional years. We should start doing that outreach, in my opinion now. Postpone any further investment in the project until we can do that outreach, wait for Blackwater. And I would love to see some more information from Eric Helgelson and Bartle Wells and Associates regarding their studies. Like I said, to my knowledge, they've only presented a PowerPoint back in September that shows, actually that one was interesting because for the first time, they included a grant in their projections, right? So every single time they usually keep any prospective grants and they set them aside. They don't include them in the projections. This time they actually included them in projections because the numbers were so bad. They actually added in I think it was like, I forget the exact number, but they added it into the projection so it wouldn't look as bad and the debt service coverage ratio wouldn't look horrid. But if I was you guys, I would request that they give you some updated numbers so that way that could be available by January 12th as well. And we can also have a better financial outlook of the project, right? I mean, I don't know, hopefully they don't charge us $200,000 for that. Thank you.
Any other public comment in the chamber? Mayor, we have one on Zoom. Ms. Agers, can you please unmute?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jamie Agers, comment again. Just one point that I'm confused about after listening to the Public Works Director's comments. I believe he stated that currently the wastewater treatment facility is running at 90 to 93% capacity now. That's confusing to me, and here's why. 9 years ago in 2016, when Riverbank approached LAFCO to increase its sphere of influence for the Crossroads West project, the Municipal Services Review document stated that there was more than enough sewer capacity to handle the full build out of Crossroads West. I don't know the number or the percentage that Crossroads West is built out presently, but I'd be surprised if it was more than 50%. So the concern is if the statement was that there was more than enough capacity for the full build out of Crossroads West, why is the plant running at 90 to 93% now? And that would make me concerned that there may not be enough capacity for Crossroads West. Just a concern I wanted to share. Thank you.
Good job.
Mayor, that is all we have on Zoom.
Thank you. If you want to answer that briefly, I mean, we've assessed. Go ahead.
I was not part of that assessment, so I can't comment to that.
Okay. Well, we are confident that we can support Crossroads West build out. And we can address that offline. But I mean, it's similar to the last item. I think it will give us about a month to each do our own research and look at the line items as presented. Thank you, Councilmember Waive, for clarifying why the value engineering is different as originally proposed. And if is there any further comments or questions? I would like to make a motion to table this item for the first January meeting.
And I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel,
Yes.
Councilmember Call,
No.
Vice Mayor Fosse,
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
All right, staff report.
So just a couple here. All city offices will be closed this Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. Should residents have a street, water, or sewer emergency, please call our Public Works hotline at 209-869-7128. A reminder to residents that sandbags are available at Public Works Corporation Yard just outside of the main gate. Please bring your own shovel. We do have the sand and the bags available there. The deadline to submit your application and design for the City Flag Design Contest is Monday, December 1st. Get creative and don't hesitate to submit your application. For more information on the design guidelines, please visit our website at www.riverbank.org. The third draft of the housing element has been submitted to the state after the 7-day review period. HCD does have 60 days to respond, which takes us to about January 19th to receive those. Those interested in reading the updates, please visit the Planning Division webpage on our website. In addition, the Planning Division has issued a request for proposals for an update to the citywide system development fee program. The goal of the study is to update our fee program to establish new infill development and transit-oriented development fees to support infill housing and transit-accessible development. This update is being funded by the Regional Early Action Plan funding from the state of California. Information on the RFP can be found on the Bids and Requests for Proposals page on the city's website. Proposals are due by January 7th. And on behalf of city staff, a special thank you to Ben Rubin for his 5 years of service to the Riverbank community on our planning commission, and we wish him the best. That is all from staff.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
December 7th, the Riverbank Historical Society will be having an event at Red Robin where they'll donate 20% of all services to Riverbank Historical. You'll just need to mention Riverbank Historical when you go in there. We appreciate you going and having a big family meal. No meetings for December for the Riverbank Historical Society or the Riverbank Women's Group. On December 6th, the Riverbank Women's Group and Seropolis Group, I know I pronounced that wrong, will be having a holiday lunch at the community center, December 6th, from 11 to 2. If you'd like to purchase tickets or want to do a table, please contact me. And I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have safe travels and be safe when you're out there traveling. There's going to be a lot of people on the road. So have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Maricela, for sharing the information on the city flag submission. So my comment's going to be short as well. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Black Friday, I know the deals are going to be out there. Everyone's going to be shopping, all the big stores, but don't forget to shop local, support those mom and pops here locally. All that gets reinvested into our community. So support, try to do both if you can. So happy holidays.
Thank you, Councilmember Pimentel.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 20th, Community Praise Tabernacle, along with the assistance from Love Riverbank, hosted a community dinner. They fed almost 400 people. It was a great turnout. I want to thank the mayor and council member Uribe for showing up and supporting. It was a great chance for the community to come together and just to have a nice hot meal. So it was a good turnout. Also on December 6th, Community Closet will be at St. Francis of Rome Church. If you have donations, you can drop them off and reach out to me. Or if you'd like to be a part of helping them, reach out to Mary Lou at the St. Francis of Church. And I also want to say the roads are very busy, so stay safe and everyone have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Councilmember Call.
A couple weeks ago, I attended the Stanislaus Homeless Alliance where I was able to share our day use facility shower statistics. So I just wanted to share those for the month of October. In October, we provided 269 showers and 235 meals to those in need. And then I also wanted to let you all know that Donnie is leaving, for those who may or may not know. And so Sierra House is seeking another program manager. And then during the Stanislaus Homeless Alliance meeting, we discussed attainable housing, which is a little bit different than affordable housing. It's actually a lot bit different. But it's more for those who they have really amazing jobs. They just can't afford a house because housing is so expensive. So it's hitting that $200,000 to $350,000 home mark. So there's a new project going in Patterson. So I'm hoping to share that information with both Josh and Maricela to see how we could possibly visit that in our city. I went to the Office of Emergency Services Stanislaus County Disaster Council, where they reviewed a west side evacuation plan. For those unfamiliar with that area, that is the Diablo Grande area who had the wildfires recently. And there really is only one way in, one way out. There is another road that goes into Santa Clara County, but it is really challenging for those when there is an emergency. So we are able to review that plan. And then just a reminder that respiratory virus season is upon us. So if you're sick, please stay home and please do not kiss children that are not yours. And then I also did my Future in Focus tours at AMETIS, where Assemblyman Juan Alanise's office and 5 other constituents were there. And it is absolutely incredible when you tour that industrial complex, because the first time you're just overwhelmed because of the rich history within that complex, as well as all of the sustainable manufacturing there. The second time you go, things start sounding a little more familiar and you're like, okay, I remember that. But the third time, once you really get to see and hear, you're starting to really grasp the things that are happening there and the plans that AMETIS has for that property. So if you haven't toured the facility, I encourage you to reach out to one of your council members to get a tour of the facility, to hear about not only the rich history, but to see the sustainable manufacturing happening there. There's an incredible amount of flat screen TVs coming into that facility, and with machines and whatever else they're using, they're able to separate the circuit boards from the plastic from the glass and really filter it out and then melt those items eventually. They're working, that's the next phase of their project. So really cool. I encourage it. At Comedy for a Cause, we were able to raise over $2,600 for Riverbank Police Services Shop with a Cop program. So I wanted to thank Councilmember Uribe, Councilmember Pimentel, Sister Cities. Many of my constituents showed up, Michael Christie and Stanislaus Latino Chamber. They actually came, they rolled deep. They had 20 people there to support the cause. So that was really exciting. And then lastly, it's getting cold. Bring your pets inside or give them somewhere warm to sleep outside. And then for those who are seeking a warming center, our community center at 3600 Santa Fe Street is a warming center during the senior event time. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I encourage you, if your heaters aren't working, to go to the community center, warm up a little bit, and then bear the cold a little bit. But that's the end of it for me.
Thank you. One last shout out for the Night Terror veterans and American Veterans First for a successful open house and ribbon cutting, and then a subsequent resource fair. I know all of us are committed to the ongoing support for American Veterans First, and this statistic that we're throwing out, that Riverbank houses the highest per capita veterans in the county. And so that's something that we're looking to continue to support. The Youth Council is continuing to meet, and I would say they are figuring it out. They're figuring out how to communicate with each other, how to communicate with staff, and how to work best together. And so it's a work in progress, but I'm really proud of the work that they're doing. StanCog, we have the interim executive director that is settling now, probably week 2, but is doing great work in assessing gaps and helping build the morale back with the staff there. I am on the board of directors of Boys and Girls Club, and we recently had a strategic planning meeting and hoping to bring their services, and a few of us had conversations to Riverbank. On my Meet the Mayor, if you didn't see me, I was dressed up as a character from a popular Netflix movie. And I had a woman approach me on Halloween, interested in doing a girls basketball pilot program to train the girls here in Riverbank to allow them to be more competitive and to get some expert knowledge in the sport. And I mean, we turned it around in maybe a week. And yesterday, 40 girls attended the pilot program, and today 50 girls attended the pilot program, all middle school age. And they're super excited to continue this program. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a presentation with the school board to kind of pitch them the idea of supporting the program on an ongoing basis. And finally, I want to say, in the spirit of the holiday, I'm thankful for this council and how everyone has stepped up in their passion projects in the community, because it's amazing to see all the effort in the community. I'm thankful for the staff, and I'm thankful for all the residents. And though we have differing opinions, I think that's what makes this really robust and more fulfilling to do. So I appreciate you all. And now we are going to close session. We have item 13.1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D, number of potential cases 1. Item 13.2, liability claims pursuant to Government Code 54961, claimant Anthony Campos Martinez, a minor by and through Alma Campos. I may have read that wrong. Agency claimed against City of Riverbank. Item 13.3, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, property 3300 Atchison Road, APN 132009069, agency negotiator Marisela H. Garcia, city manager, property negotiator Del Rio City Center LLC, under negotiation, price, terms of payment, or both. Is there any public comment on these items or online?
Mayor, there is no one on Zoom wishing to speak.
All right, we are adjourning to closed session. Thank you.
Yeah, I think.
All right. We are coming back from closed session. Item 14.1, report from item 13.1, direction has been given to staff. Item 14.2, report from item 13.2, direction has been given to staff. And item 14.3, report from closed session. Item 13.3, direction has been given to staff. The next regular city council meeting will be on Tuesday, December 9th at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.